Recording in progress.
begin our official volunteer meeting. So Dar, do we want to stop recording and then start a new recording?
Yeah, let me stop and then let's let people come in for a couple of minutes, maybe at
Yeah.
5:02 or 5:03, and then we start recording and
Okay.
officially start.
Cool.
Recording stopped.
So then never mind. You have 3 more minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I
Don't
never
share anything really cool that we wish was recorded. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, nothing that
I never got the answer to my GPS question because I bought one of those GPS One Garmin 18X USB things, and it never would work on my Windows computer. And what I wanted it for was my MacBook.
I use it on both Mac and Windows, and it works fine.
How do you get it to work?
I just plug it in. In all fairness, I just plug it in. It just works.
Send me details.
Okay. What software are you using?
I am using on the MacBook Xavier's. Yeah, Xavier's
It
stuff.
works fine. Yeah, you just need to go into the settings, into setup, and you set GPS, and then you select your GPS once you plug it in. That's all.
When I plug it into that MacBook, nothing happens.
Nothing will happen until you go into the settings and tell it to use the GPS.
And when I went into Xavier's program, it didn't show up.
Are there drivers?
There might be a driver needed on your side. I haven't needed a driver on my side, but maybe there's a driver. You might need a driver. But yeah, I've used it on both Mac and Windows machines without issue.
Okay. But
ping me on Discord, and I'll post that STL out there as well, so people can have access to it.
Okay.
For that filter cover or whatever they want.
I'll do that.
Sure.
All right, for people that are just entering, we're going to give people another minute or two before we officially start this meeting, and then the first thing we'll do is record. It's chit chat for now. Just save heavy questions for the actual meeting when we're recording.
Sure. Just one thing, there was the question about the GPS. When you plug it in, it may not see it. It takes about 15 minutes for the GPS to pull down the data from the satellites. So you may need to let it just sit there and let the GPS update itself, because it needs to update from the GPS satellites.
And Spencer, the GPS sensor needs to be outside where it can see a good fraction of the sky.
You can put it on your windowsill; it'll work that fine that way, or hang it out a window or something. But yeah, it does. But I would say you need to let it sit there for about 15 minutes or 20 or so to allow it to its updates before it actually starts functioning, because it needs to download a catalog.
It's set on my Windows machine for half an hour, and I never could see it. So I don't know.
Spencer, is that a Garmin a GPS module, or is this one of those aftermarket GPS things for $20 from Amazon?
It was the Garmin GPS 18X.
Yeah, that's a good one. $70.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did it come with any software?
No.
Because
no.
I think you need to go to Garmin and find the software, because the Windows thing will not see.
There you go.
That was it.
Okay,
that was it. Yep. But there was no drivers. And I went looking for Mac drivers, and there were no drivers I could find for it.
No drivers, no nothing, and I'm doing the same thing. I've got a MacBook Pro running Xavier's Solar Eclipse Maestro. Just plugged it in, off it went. And I did go. When you're running SEM, there's a setup tab at the top, and it automatically highlighted use GPS time.
Wow.
And when you go under observer tab and look at the drop down, there's a section that says GPS position tracking, and you hover over that and you get several different things. Now it might be that it's turned off in your setup. I don't know. There is a selection for turned off, but you don't want that. You want to have it probably stationary in that drop down.
Okay, everyone, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to officially start the meeting. So if you guys want to keep talking about GPS, let me start recording, and then I will officially start the meeting. Give me 1 second.
Recording in progress.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the February 19th Zoom meeting for Eclipse Mega Movie. Welcome stars and welcome mega volunteers. I just want to orient us to the various options on Zoom. We are going to do informal chats and discussions in the meeting chat, but please put official questions into the Q&A section. If you've never used that before, please check for it on the bottom of your Zoom screen. It is from the chat. And we like that because we can answer it either live or asynchronously, and it is kept separate from the chat and it's kept out of the stream of chatter. For other people who are watching this asynchronously, a lot easier for them to see all of the answered questions. So if anyone sees a question that they can answer, please do post it in the chat and staff will try to catch it and move it over into the answers. And we are also going to have breakout sessions for the various specific topics that we want to cover today. So with that, I want to pass it over to Laura. There she is. Go on, Laura, take it over.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. This is our first kind of mixed group Zoom since our December science Zoom that we had. So I just want you to be aware that we have folks here who are in the Science Team Alpha recruits, our STAR folks, and we have mega volunteers who may or may not be using mounts or might be taking different exposures, and maybe this is they're really just signed up to take some photos but not to necessarily contribute to the very precise scientific requirements we've set out. And so I want to thank you all for your interest. We have been, I don't know if you keep tabs on our website at all, we've been kind of refining our language as we bring people in and as we work with NASA for them, because they're doing some recruitment for us, the communications folks at NASA. So they have great ideas, just like you all have great ideas. And so we're making changes. So you might now hear, so STAR volunteers are still STAR volunteers. For that kind of next tier, if you either don't have the equipment that we need, or you just want to try to take some good pictures, then we're calling you now our observers, our eclipse observers. We had different words in there before, but just so you know. And then we also have the Python machine learning folks coming in, but I don't know if any of you are here yet, but some of you, of course, will transfer from photographers to machine learning people. And we do have some students and a professor here who has his PhD in machine learning of images. So they're working to create a set of kind of a set to work with from our 2017 data, so we can be ready to use machine learning on the 2024 data set. Anyway, so that's kind of where we are right now on the project, and a lot of the STAR volunteers here have been giving us fantastic advice and corrections on our photography guide, which we just released on our website. I do know that there's still some inconsistencies in there, but keep telling us what those are. So I saw that you noted that for the darks. So please let us know. We want that as cleaned up as possible, because otherwise we're just confusing the new people coming in. And maybe you're still confused. Hopefully we'll clarify and create clarity. So that was another thing I wanted to say in terms of clarity. As you may or may not guess or have figured out, that you all have different cameras. You have, so the different types of cameras that a lot of you have are Canons, Nikons, Sonys. Some of you also have telescopes that are actually at this correct zoom level that we're looking for. And so then not only do you have 4 different brands, and that last one isn't even a brand, it's another bucket, but you have different versions of those cameras. So some of you have brand new Canons, some of you have very old Canons, some of you have mirrorless digital cameras, some of you have mirrors on your digital cameras. Some of your cameras measure the temperature internally, some of them don't. Some of them measure the temperature internally, but they're not correct. Some of them give you the exposure times, but they're not correct either. So there's all sorts of complications with this crazy project. And why did we do it? Because the 2017 practice run showed us that we are so close to getting data, science out of that data. And that data was even less constrained than this year's data. So I know that the data you get us is going to just blow us away, and I'm so excited about it. So essentially what we did with the 2017 data is we created high dynamic range images. Because we didn't have you, for those of you who joined us in 2017, we didn't kind of have you take enough photographs, and also the bracketing back then wasn't as nice as it is now. Xavier had the wonderful software that a lot of you use. If some of you don't know what these words mean, that's okay too. We will get you trained up in as much training as you want. So I just want to emphasize that this is, in some ways, it's for those of you who do engineering as a profession, it might seem a little chaotic, and it is, but it's also super cool, which I hope that's why you're part of it. And you get to be experts in your equipment, and you are experts, not even you get to be, you just are, a lot of you, and you're sharing with us all that expertise and with one another. So thank you. I also want to appreciate the really positive working environment that a lot of you have created in this big team. And we created some more refined codes of conduct this last week just to make sure everyone's communicating in a positive way, because this works really hard. And when things are really hard, you have to be really nice. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. I guess so let me give you that was my overview of the project as we stand today. So for the remaining hour, well, we're not doing an hour, but the remaining 45 minutes, for the next half hour, we are going to break out into 3 groups. So for 30 minutes, we will meet, the astrophotographers are going to meet together. And I've brought in one of my astronomy colleagues from Berkeley who also does education work. He's actually now the planetarium director at the Lawrence Hall of Science at UC Berkeley. And his name's Brian Mendez, Dr. Brian Mendez. He has astronomy PhD from Berkeley. I think I said that already. Anyways, and he's a very nice person. So he will, I know you astrophotographers have some very specific questions that I can't answer because I am not one. And so Brian at least will understand some of your questions better than I will. So I'm having him join you along with Hannah, because Hannah knows our project better than Brian. And then a lot of you also, the astrophotographers, will also know our project more than Brian. Brian was was on our team in 2017, so he also knows that he took beautiful photographs and made a very nice high dynamic range image that we actually put in a paper we wrote. So okay, so that's the context for Brian. If you haven't met him yet, most of you know Hannah, or you met her or in the last hour. For those of you just joining and you haven't been to any of our Zooms, Hannah's our communication specialist, and she facilitates a lot of great discussions in Discord as well as on our Zooms. So you'll have those two in our and then the next breakout will be so that's breakout room number 1. So you'll go to breakout room number 1. Breakout room number 2 are the photographers who do not identify as astrophotographers. And I will be in that group with Robert. Robert is one of our administrative coordinators here in our Sonoma State University group, and he will help me record because I keep forgetting to do that when I'm supposed to do that. So thank you, Robert. And he will answer any questions about administration, and he helps us ship out all the mounts. So if you have questions about that, he'll probably know more about that. And then we will have the third group will be mount related questions, including our 3D printed mounts. So Jeffrey and Troy will be a part of that. Also, because Troy is, so Jeffrey helped us build those mounts and read the DIY and then supervised all the printing of the 3D printed materials. So he's really an expert in the 3D printed mount. And he's been also reading all of your emails about the other kinds of mounts. So you can, if some of you want to say more about that, you can go to that session as well. Troy is our programmer on our team, and he is working on the machine learning part as well. So if you're not making any photographs, taking any photographs, but if you want to hear about mounts, and then I don't know if there's going to be any discussions about hold off on the machine learning questions until all the mountain questions have been answered, but you could sneak one in there maybe. Okay, so those are our 3 breakout groups, 1, 2, and 3. And Troy, can you also make sure that you record? Oh wait, I don't have Darlene in there. Dar, I guess you can go to the Jeffrey.
No, actually, I'm going to stay in the main room and help anyone who's lost.
Yes, that's why I didn't have you there.
Yes,
that's right.
I'll be a shepherd for lost sheep.
Great. Yeah. So how do you go to the rooms? That is a great question. Thank you.
I was going to say, I made the rooms and I named them exactly how Laura described. We're also going to put a summary in the chat so you can read and remember what we just said. And then when I open the breakout rooms, you guys can go where you want. That way, if you want to move rooms, you can. If you do get lost, come back to the main room. I can help you. It should be you can go to any room you want to.
Okay, but let me just also add, thank you so much, Dar. Yes, perfect. So for those of you who still don't know kind of how do I do that, you would go down to the bottom of your screen and you should see some buttons that say breakout rooms. You'll click on those, and then nope. Oh, because you haven't started them yet. Well, there will be there, and you'll click on the breakout room icon, and then you will click on join. If you find after the title for each breakout room, there's a little button that's kind of hard to see right next to the words. It says join. If you hover over it, I think it becomes blue, or maybe it's blue and you hover it over it, it becomes something else. And then when you join it, you'll be in there. And then the thing to recognize is when you're in a breakout room at the bottom, there will be 2 options: to leave Zoom or to leave the breakout room. If you leave Zoom, just come back in and you'll see Dar. Otherwise, just leave the room and you'll directly come to Dar. So either way, you'll get back to Dar, and then you can go back into the room if you accidentally leave the room. Okay. Anything else, Dar, you want to mention?
No, we should do a time for reconvening, and I will do cast messages so everyone can keep an eye on the time. What time would you like us to call back?
Yeah, let's do 30 minutes. So 47.
Okay, 5:47. You got it. Is everyone ready to go? All right, let's launch. Open all the rooms. Here we go. And remember, I can help you if you are having trouble. Have fun.
Thanks.
It's fitting, kind of.
Brian.
Liam, where's Tim tonight?
I don't know. I would assume he'd be here, but he doesn't seem to be around.
Yeah, you guys usually tandem to create all the.
Well, we live about an hour from each other, and we're in the same astronomy club, and we're both NASA Solar System ambassadors. So we do a mountain of presentations together. We tie together a lot because we play off each other all the time and make fun of each other, which makes our presentations more entertaining. So
I love that. Okay, so we don't have a Q&A in here necessarily. There's Brian. I can't make you a co-host because I'm not a host anymore, but that's fine. So Brian, do you want to do a quick introduction for yourself to everybody?
I can. I think actually Laura probably said all the things
okay. Yeah,
all the
that's
things
fair.
that are needed to say about me. Yeah, I mean, I participated in the last Mega movie, and so I know how to do some of the things.
I think I just really, Brian, wanted to give everybody a moment to like look at all of the Star Wars behind you and to just
yeah,
take
sure.
it in.
I love Star Wars, and I kept all the toys from when I was a kid. And then when I got my own house, I decided that I needed to fill up my office space with more and more and more. And then
I
the
love that so
pandemic
much.
hit, and I had like, an urge to just do something, which was grow my collection. So now I have
I
a fun
love
place
that.
to be in.
We already have a question from Zoe. Oh gosh, I have to record.
You have to
So
record.
Brian, I'm actually planning on building a 3D printed R2D2 full size.
Full size.
Robotic, yeah.
Awesome. There's I forgot what they're called, but there's just as there's the 501st costume community who, they build their own costumes and everything. There's also a huge community of people who build their own droids, and you should with them.
I'm one. I'm part of that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
Is he going to swear as much as the real R2?
With all the beeps, yeah. Yeah, I'll show you my.
Hannah, hit record.
I'm trying.
Here's my
co-host.
R2
I've got a
Beer
co-host yet. Thank you, Spencer, though. That's a great reminder.
That's my R2 Beer 2.
Whee!
Awesome. Yay.
Testing 1, 2,
3D
3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Hi, I hear you.
I have an R2D2 light. Does that count?
Yep.
I saw that behind you, Amy, and I was like, I think that's an R2D2 light, but I didn't say specifically.
My feeling is that whatever makes you happy counts.
Yes.
I also have a BB-8
I
Instant
will
Pot.
be right back.
Sweet.
Okay. All right. Hannah's trying to figure out some technical things. So I think Laura mentioned that she called me like literally 30 minutes ago and said, "Hey, can you help me today?" So just so you know, I didn't have time to prepare for this evening. So I mean, I think what Laura kind of set me up with is you all are kind of, what you're doing with your photography equipment, right? And so, I think actually this group is probably well equipped to help each other with any technical issues along those lines. I think Laura was telling me that maybe some of the questions you all might have are more along the kind of what kind of specs are we looking for to get the good data? Like, for example, maybe, what kind of darks and flats and biases frames that you need to have, what kind of tracking we may want to have for if you're planning to do tracking with your photography, and I can give you some general ideas there. I was noticing as I popped on all these questions that were already in the Q&A, and I saw that Hannah was giving some really great advice, which was that kind of do what you can with the equipment that you can, right? It's I think for this kind of project, it's we're not asking you to go out there and like spend so much money to do this science, but really, we're just asking you to use what you have and use it to the best of your ability, and then we'll do something with that, right? So I think one of the things that I liked, and so I liked the way that Hannah was answering a lot of those questions, and so I like to calm anyone's anxiety about like is my data going to be any good? Don't worry about that. I say
Brian,
do the best you can with what you've got, and it'll be great.
You know of the astronomer's curse, right? If you buy new equipment, you get cloudy skies.
Yeah, well, so don't buy new equipment.
We want clear skies.
That's
right. Late.
There's a cure. The cure is either sacrifice the equipment or sacrifice the astronomer, and we hate to waste good equipment.
Hannah hit record.
Is Hannah back? I don't think Hannah's
She's not back, you know.
I think she went up. She was having trouble, I think, with the record, so she probably
Yeah.
went to go get Dar's assistance.
But she needs to be a co-host or something to hit record.
Oh, that's probably the thing. Yeah, she mentioned.
Yeah, so it turns out we can't. So I'm here now. Hannah
Look at this
says,
Dar.
everyone behave yourself. She's going to man the main room, and I'm going to start recording here. So here we go.
There she goes. All right, great.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Yay.
Thank you. So I think, we'll just try to deal with questions that folks have. And I see that Zoe's got, or is it Zoe or Zoe, has their hand up. So let's take your question.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me all right?
I can.
Great. So I was reviewing the new exposure list, and yeah, it was quite a bit different from the prior. And I wanted to just double check. Really what I wanted was an event, eclipse feature event per shot. But from the chat, you start at C2. Is that right? We start shooting at C2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Exposure list? Okay. And the exposures, I'm using Backyard Nikon. So I run the exposures through, and it's capturing on my card. It's a little over a minute of exposures. Is that going to cover to C3? I think it might be a little shy.
Well, no. If you've done all of they haven't officially said it, but I'm assuming, depending on where you are for totality, if you got 3 or 4 minutes, depending on where you are, and if you've run through all of the shots, the multiple shots for each variation of exposure, and you've completed them, and you have time to repeat, you should repeat, because the more data you collect, the better.
Yeah, but it would be at a different phase of the eclipse, so it wouldn't be the correct.
No, it'd all be true. It'd all be during totality. It doesn't make a difference as long as it's during totality, because it's the corona we're looking at.
Yeah.
We don't care about the limb.
Yeah, it'll be fine. And so, yeah, I agree with Liam. Just if it's let it repeat, and the images should be, hopefully they'll be time stamped enough so that we have a good sense of exactly the timing. Although it's within 3 minutes, so totality at about the edge, depending on where you're at within the path of totality, it can last somewhere around 2-ish minutes on the edges, up to a maximum of about 4.5 minutes in the very center line.
Yeah, I'm up. Well, fingers crossed. I'm up in Maine, so I have the shortest amount of totality. So I was a little concerned on when I start. So now I know it's just at C2, and then I just keep. If it finishes before C3, I'll just shoot it again. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, set, I think the way I've always done it is you just set the sequence and then set the sequence to repeat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know if did you do it back in 2017 at all?
Oh, well, not with this, but yeah, how I did it was so crazy. I mean, I just let the sun go. I didn't have a tracker. Now I have a tracker. So I let the sun just go through my frame, and then I moved it, and then it goes through my frame, and then but it was a nightmare to, stack after that. But so this is something different, and I just wanted to double check, because I also want to be able to shoot the prior, the partials. So I'm going to have multiple logs to be able to do this. So
yeah, I mean, so like what I did last time, and what I probably would do again, is I had a filter over the camera before first contact, or before C2.
Right.
And I started I can't remember how long before I had started the sequence, but I just let the sequence run.
Well, Eclipse Orchestrator times it automatically, so it triggers at the right time for your location. So it's pretty much hands off, except taking the filter off your scope.
Orchestrator.
Yeah, if you're using that kind of software, I was using. I have a very old Canon, and I had to upload some specialized software in there in order to do my bracketing. So I just started it in its sequence of brackets and pulled off that. All I did was, a few seconds before C2, I just pulled that filter off and then let it go, and didn't worry about it, because I mean this is the one thing that I say this to public audiences, and I want you all to think about this too, is don't let the technology prevent you from enjoying the experience, right? And first and foremost, if it stops working, too bad. You need to watch the clips and enjoy it, right? So don't. There's enough people in this project that somebody's going to get the good data. So do the best you can, but don't be fiddling with that camera right before totality. Make sure that you just set it and go, and just set it on a repeat, and then we'll do what we can with the data afterward. I mean, I did the same thing as you last time. I let mine just float through the frame. I had a large enough frame so that I didn't have to worry about tracking. And then stacking afterwards was, well, it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't impossible.
No, it was fine. Now I have all the gear, so now probably it's going to be interesting. All right, that's what I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was trying to figure out how many cycles through the gold standard I could get, and what I calculated was I could get. I'm trying to allow for the pause for the vibration from the mirror to settle down, and I figured that if I had a 1.2 second pause between exposures, I could get 3 cycles in. But I'm not sure whether I want to cut down to 1.2 seconds. Do you think that would be long enough?
Can you not set mirror lock during the bracketed exposures during totality? So each exposure level, you do it as a take burst, and you set the burst to be how many shots, and then do a mirror lock for that, and then when you're done, let the mirror come down, and then when you go to the next exposure, wait 2 or 3 seconds, then open and do the next take burst, like 5 images of whatever exposure level. And if you do the take burst and do the mirror lock at each take burst, I don't know if your camera can do it or not, but if you do that, the mirror will stay up. You'll take your shots, all of them, without putting the mirror down, and only when that run is over of 5 images or 10 images, whatever you want, it goes down. And then the next exposure level, mirror lock up again, do a take burst, and take a burst of 5 images or whatever number is needed on that exposure level, and repeat that each time. That way, then your mirror is not flapping up and down all the time.
Yeah, that would have to be programmed into the script, right?
Eclipse Maestro and Eclipse Orchestrator both have that option.
Yeah, but I'm using Windows.
Yeah, Eclipse Orchestrator runs on Windows.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
I'm not sure it'll work with the D3200.
Oh, it's a Nikon?
Yep.
No, see, the problem is the 3000 series are Nikon do not release the APIs or the SDKs to talk to those cameras. They only do for the higher end machines.
Yeah, that's why I'm using Digicam Control.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to find information about scripting for that. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. There's a couple
I want
other
to make sure. Oh, sorry. I want to make sure that we address people whose hands have been up for quite a while. Richard, you've been physically holding up your hand, which I appreciate. So I'm going in the order that I saw, and then Brian, if you can address JCRB, then Richard, and then let's do Paul. And it's less than 15 minutes to go. So just to give you guys a time's up.
All right, thanks. So just let me to finish off that list. So there a few other folks gave some suggestions in the chat there, Gary. I would suggest that, but I think the thing to do is, and as Laura was saying at the beginning, everybody's got some different equipment, and so your solution is probably going to end up being different. And so it's really important to just practice, right? Practice it and find out what's going to work best for your setup. And you can practice on the full moon. That's actually relatively close to the illumination level of the solar corona. So if you practice on the full moon, give yourself a chance to try out a variety of different settings and see what's going to work best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so JCRB, you're next.
So none of the software that exists I used Eclipse Orchestrator on the D750 in 17, but none of the software that exists talks to like modern cameras. There's almost no way to actually do the sequence by script, but I can do it by hand, right? Because the time it will take to shoot the sequence by hand, will be, very quick with one of these things. But does it matter when, because, right, like I can just run through the sequence sets given the number of pictures. Does it matter when during the Eclipse, therefore, we run it, if it will take us, about 10 seconds to do the whole sequence? Because otherwise I'm going to leave the camera on its own auto bracketing, which can't produce the GS, but it will produce 1,000 pictures, right? So at some point in there, I can easily pause for 10 seconds and manually run the exposures. Does it matter when during totality, right?
I don't, and some other folks who maybe have more, because I also have an old camera myself, but so if any of you who have newer cameras can answer that. My sense is that with the newer camera, you ought to be able to set the bracketing in such a way that you can do the variation in exposure times.
Yeah, but you can't get
very similar to
there's so many, right? So you can only get 9 different brackets, right? So I can cover the whole range, but only with nine sets. Now, it's unclear why the bracketing has to be that fine, given the dynamic range on the camera, that there's actually anything to be gotten from it. But it's not possible to do, 20. It won't bracket through that many different stops. It'll do one EV brackets, right, or half EV brackets or whatever, but it won't do 20 at half a stop.
I would say one thing about the two pieces of software, Maestro and Orchestrator. Maestro, Xavier said he's planning to have a release sometime in the end of February, early March. That might cover some new cameras.
And that's Mac only.
Yeah, and Fred Sprunges, who does Orchestrator, he's constantly updating. So you should ping him and see if he has the plans to add it.
Yeah, but again, I used Orchestrator before, and the issue there is the speed of its communication over the USB, right? You could shoot some small number over the USB, shooting out of the internal bracketing, right? It'll shoot as many as you want, basically. It'll go full speed nonstop, right? So the number of things is, the number of images that can be gotten is so much smaller with Orchestrator than it is just running on the internal intervalometer.
Not if you use a serial trigger port. There's a serial trigger port you can get to trigger it. Chris is holding one up. You can get
I don't think I'm gonna get one of those.
I put a link. I put a link in the chat. There is it's Cable Warehouse or something on eBay, and I just picked up 2 more of these. I now have 5 to run all my cameras because reasons. Anyway, what it is, this is a little optoelectronic trigger, and you connect it with a USB adapter to serial, and then this goes to your trigger cable, which is a 3.5 millimeter, plugs in on this end, and the 2.5 goes into your camera. You have the 3-pin. All you need.
10
the what?
10 pin.
Is it a Canon or Nikon?
Nikon. It's 10 pin.
I forget Nikons. I don't know.
Yeah, well, sorry.
There's probably a solution for Nikons, but this is for Canon. So you should still be able to get an adapter that goes from 3.5 millimeter to whatever the Nikon is. Okay, because it's basically just an extension. So you might be able to do it that way. And what this does in Orchestrator, you can do, like for example, for mine, I've got a Canon 5DS, and I can trigger everything from 1/8,000th of a second all the way to 3 seconds, and I can do the whole thing in just under 7 seconds, and then I can repeat over and over and over again for the entire duration of the eclipse. So in my location, I should be able to get about I think between 22 and 25 total sets of brackets, and and each one is like, I think 12 images per set. So just using this thing, I can trigger that. But with the USB issue, yeah, it's the USB controller cannot send a signal to the camera more than once a second to take the image. And I had that issue last time around. And what's worse is if you have multiple cameras in one computer, it round robins it. So if you have, like, I had I had 3 cameras last time, and it round robin to each camera instead of setting the triggers all together.
When they say any more than 2 cameras become a problem. Even though they say support 4, they say anything more than 2 is a problem.
Yeah, that's why I'm borrowing 6 laptops from work. So I will have 1 laptop per camera. I don't have to worry about that issue. All I have to do is worry about space on a desk. But this is how you get faster exposures or faster triggers for the.
You still need the software to even recognize the camera in the first place, which currently Orchestrator doesn't recognize the new Nikons.
Yeah, sorry.
It doesn't even see that they exist.
Ping Moonlight Technologies, that's Fred Sprunges, his name is. And Fred is the guy who created Orchestrator. And ping him, and he may be having it planned to be added to an update. He gets lots of requests, but he's a one-man show. Because Daystar Technologies, he also owns Daystar, the filter company, and that's his company as well. So he's busy during the day with Daystar, and in the evenings, Orchestrator is what he works on. So
I put in the link for Eclipse Orchestrator.
Thanks, Chris. And I'll notice that Rob also put in an additional information there about Astro DSLR, which maybe is another solution. I see Dar's letting me know that we got about 8 minutes left. So
that was a couple minutes ago. 6 minutes left.
6 minutes. Okay, Paul, let's see if we can deal with your question.
I'll make this really brief, but some of it's, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have video tonight. Sorry about that. I just have a question. I did the 2017 Eclipse pretty successfully, but I'm just wondering, and we were kind of addressing some of it in terms of the software that we could use on a laptop and drive the the progress there. What is there, like a gold standard? Is there kind of a recommended based on your guys' experience? What's kind of the for go-to? And I can use a Mac or a Windows-based software either. I'm just wondering what's kind of the top of the list.
Well, it sounds like, I know that I was looking in the chat here, and so we've seen a few different comments about latest versions of Mac OS, for example, are not going to work with the Maestro.
Maestro needs a really old version of the Mac OS, and it needs to be the old Intel version of the Mac. He hasn't rewritten it for the new Macs. But Eclipse Orchestrator will run on any Windows machine.
On any Windows machine.
Yes, but he only supports, I believe he only supports Canon cameras.
Is it possible to do emulation? Because that's one way to get around when you've got too new of a software, is if you can run an emulator of a previous version of Mac OS. I don't know.
No,
that's possible to do in Windows more than, I don't know, but
you can't. No, because the underlying technology of the CPU has changed to now it's an ARM processor, whereas the old one was an Intel-based processor, and they're not compatible at all.
So in Windows, I'm wondering about. I know in Windows you can run Mac emulators, right? Or is it? You can run Windows emulators on Macs, right?
But it's questionable. Its reliability is questionable. But if you go with Orchestrator, you can run on a Windows machine. It's Maestro is where you have to have an old machine, an old version of a Mac, the Intel-based Macs, on Mojave, which is an ancient operating system.
Right, and then Rob had suggested that Astro DSLR is a good option for Macs.
I'll check that out, guys. Thank you. I'm still noodling around with different software that's available out there and testing them. So
Astro DSLR has said they're enhancing it to allow for more bracketing photos. They said they have a new version coming out in March.
nice. Thanks, guys. That's all.
Thank you, Paul. And then Chris, I've seen your hand up then here. What can we do for you, Chris?
So I will not only be using DSLRs, but I also have the Astro cameras. So I've got the ASI 2600. I've got two monochrome 183 sensors and one color 183 sensor. So all of it will be hooked up and doing whatever. The software that I've been messing with, well, I use SharpCap. I know Nina exists. I haven't touched Nina. If anyone's used it, is there anything that will let me do brackets for the Astro cameras? Because they're cooled. I'm probably going to get better results on DSLR. I can do all my processing pretty easily in my software. So, but I can program it into SharpCap. SharpCap doesn't let me do sub 1 second exposures and set up a bracket for that. Does anybody have any solutions?
Any deep sky software will be able to run your Astro images.
No, it can run it, but what I'm looking for is bracketing.
No, they don't support bracketing because you don't do bracketing in deep sky.
I understand that.
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking.
You can program. You can do some scripting with SharpCap to do your exposure like you want. SharpCap have some scripting capacity, like Nina have. I did some tests with SharpCap, and it's 10 times faster than Nina. So,
okay, then if that's the thing, if it needs scripting, I'll do the scripting. I'll try to find time to do the scripting.
Jacques, is the scripting that you have that you've already experimented? Is that something that you could share in the Discord with?
I didn't create the script for SharpCap. The test I did, it was 1 minute, 1 second, 1 millisecond exposure. Just to compare Nina and SharpCap, and it was about 500 with SharpCap and maybe 30 with Nina. It was just to compare, but yes, I will develop the program, the script, and share it with you. Also, I found a little program with CHDK, Canon Hack something, because I plan to use my little camera. It's a power shot, and it has a good zoom on it. And let's go. In 2017, that's the only camera I had, but we can update the firmware and do some bracketing like we want. And there's a version also for the Canon DSLR for that. So I will share these script with you when it's finished.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much.
Recording in
You'll get a
progress.
text file after you save at the end when you close down the recording. And when
Perfect.
the recording is finished, you'll get a text file with the chats in there.
Perfect. That's all those beautiful links you guys put in there. We want to make sure they're all preserved.
Okay, we're back in the main chat.
I think we're all back. All right, Laura, you want to reconvene us for the closing?
Yeah, so I know that so I think Dave in our group had put the Discord link in there. Thank you, Dave. But I'm not sure everyone saw it. So can
I'll grab
Hannah
another one.
put that in there again for people? That would be great. And there we go. Dave's putting it in. Great. Awesome. And so I just thought we could do a little share out with each of the groups. So I will model this, and then I will call on Brian, and then I will call on Jeffrey to do a little summary of what we each talked about. So in our group, we talked about kind of the change. I had a lot of folks who had done the 2017 photography and are now doing the 2024 photography for the Eclipse Mega Movie. And so we learned about some new cameras people have. There's a question. In fact, maybe you could put I forget your first name, but Miss Morgan, if you can put your question about your camera in the chat, and then maybe also in Discord later. You could do that. And then people were also asking, they just joined. And so they were asking where they can find information about how to get their camera set up, what they need. They were trying to decide what mounts to use. So we were talking about some people aren't going to be using the 3D printed mounts that we sent them. So they're going to be, they might ship those to other people. So we were talking about how to make a 30-degree mount, a 40-degree mount with a wedge. So that's possible and can happen. So, and then we discussed also that you can find information on our website, the photography guide, while it's meant for those of you who are STAR members, those of you who are not in the STAR membership, you also can use it as a good guide for what you can pick and choose what you want out of that. But it kind of gives you some of the things that you need to think about anyway. So, and that is under resources on the website, and then under STAR, if you click on the STAR metadata there's a little square you click on, you'll find those files. So that's a summary, a quick summary. We also talked about a few other things, but all right, Brian, you want to give a summary of what you all discussed?
I can try. Ours was a discussion that I think a lot of people's questions were around kind of specifically software solutions to being able to get the kind of requested sequence of exposures, and that there's a lot of difficulty with certain mismatches between software and versions of operating systems and versions of cameras and the camera software. And so there was a lot of ideas and troubleshooting that was being passed around to try to help folks, get as close to that, what did you call it? The golden
gold standard.
The gold standard bracket, right? Which it sounds like is a lot of people are finding to be a difficult standard to match.
Yes.
And so, yeah, one of the messages I tried to give folks was that not to break the bank or or anything in order to try to reach that, to do the best you can with what you've got, to make sure that you test, as much as you can ahead of time, use the full moon to test out your different solutions and see if you're getting, results that you're happy with. And I also sent the message to, whatever you do, make sure that it's all, you're happy with the automation ahead of time, so that during the eclipse, you do not find yourself fiddling with the equipment. That during the eclipse, you are present for the actual event itself.
Yes, thank you for emphasizing that point, and emphasizing that we do recognize this gold standard is not possible for most people. And we put it out there so that you could figure out what you can do with your camera. So I'm just going to say this again because it's worth repeating, and I'm glad that Brian was saying that to you. So that's why we've given at the very end of the photography guide some an example of what kind of modifications. I know some of you are going to have to go to brackets, and if your camera does 5 or 9 brackets, then just take a bunch of brackets for the whole eclipse, and that will be great. And then sit back and enjoy. So. Yes, we recognize that when we invite the public to do this, this is part of the game, and we will get scientifically relevant data from you all, and we're very excited about that fact. And we know because we got some really great data in 2017. So, okay, thank you, Brian. All right, Jeffrey, what did you all discuss in your mount?
We have a couple of individuals that were having issues with their Skywatcher Star Adventure GTI mounts that I'm going to try to help Flaxman see if I can do a little bit of research on that. But in the meantime, I requested Hannah to create additional channels in Discord that's mount specific. So if there's a mount that you're using that other people are using and you're having issues, just ping Hannah and she'll create a channel for you. And it looks like Amy has a Star Adventure that should love to see that in Discord as well. And I encourage, if you're using a similar mount to that, and people have questions, I would encourage the more experienced people to help the less experienced people so that they can become pretty proficient at using their mounts. We're also having one that's specific to our mount that's also there. That'll be kind of like a general mount area. And I also made note of that Hannah and I on Friday did film a video, and I edited it today for specific training on that, on our mount, on how to load it properly so it doesn't do one of those things where it gets top heavy and just does this.
Awesome.
So that was some of the stuff that we discussed. We also discussed using the sundial method to find true north. So I kind of pointed that out in the documentation that's there. It's probably a good idea to take a look at that, especially if you're finding your app isn't pointing you in the right direction. So that we have an alternative method that's pretty low tech and should generally work for our volunteers.
Great, that sounds great. And I do want to just it turns out there is an app that really does a nice job pointing true north and you don't have to be on the internet. So we'll be sharing that out. Thanks to one of our volunteers for sharing that out. And okay, great. Any last minute? So I'll take a few more questions. We're going to close out at 6 tonight. And then when's our next, Darlene? Can you tell everyone when our next meeting is? We have it on the calendar. It's March something. What did we pick? March 26th, maybe? Hold on.
Give me 1 second, sorry.
No, that's fine. We'll find it here for you. It's March 25th. Yes, March 25th, 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. Office hours are from 4 to 5. So office hours are really debugging problems. These meetings also tend to be debugging problems, troubleshooting. We're also going to have some social hours where you can practice and watch someone practice. He did that, Tran did that on Saturday, and we recorded it. So he said we could post it. So then you can kind of watch that, just so you get a good sense of kind of what that looks like. He started from the beginning pretending it was the eclipse. So we'll post that, and then we'll send those out. Anything else I have missed telling our volunteers, Hannah or Darlene?
May I offer a
Nothing I
suggestion?
can think of. Sure. Yeah.
Between now and the next, 48 days, right? Practice, 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 and practice. On the moon, on the sun, with your filters on your camera or whatever, just practice. Get it to the point that you can put this together, get it running, tracking, imaging, without even thinking about it. Because on the day of, you'll be panicked, and if you don't have it as muscle memory, stuff will go wrong for you. So practice, and get a big plastic sheet on the ground. When you have it all working and everything's connected and it's running perfect, take every piece off, lay it on that piece of plastic, and that piece of plastic or the sheet of plastic or canvas, everything on there goes with you, because you don't want to turn up there and be missing a cable.
Yes, and speaking of that, we're going to create a checklist, both a checklist in time as well as a packing list. So that, because I was starting to practice myself and I thought, wait, I need a packing list. So we'll share those out too. So those of you who already have a packing list, if you want to share those with us to get started, that would be helpful. You don't need to at all.
Yeah. I was also thinking about making a travel suggestion channel in the Discord, like suggestions for traveling with your gear, if you're flying, if you're driving, that kind of thing. Because I will be flying with my camera, and I have no idea. I imagine I should put it on a carry-on, or should I check it? Probably shouldn't check it. Yep.
We're definitely talking about that.
Well, not check the camera.
Not
always
checking the camera.
No.
Don't check it.
Lenses, batteries, all in the carry-on.
There's a reason why I'm driving 1,500 miles.
Oh my goodness.
Especially international travel. Anyone going to Mexico or Mazatlan with me, we have a special channel on Discord, especially for that, how to pack and bring our gear.
Mm-hmm. And on the day of, we have, I know we're a little over time, but we have several different voice channels. So I'll try and put a guide together for voice channels so that you can use them. But what you can do is you can jump in a voice channel for Mexico, and that way anyone in Mexico can be in the voice channel with each other. You can, check in with each other, say, oh, it's starting. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And just hang out with each other while you're also photographing.
I won't have data. Where I'm setting up, they don't even have high-speed internet in the town yet.
That's fair.
Yeah, a lot of us will be in the area. Well, not a lot. I mean, there's some pretty big cities under the path this time, but the center line is pretty still rural.
Yeah.
So,
Gatesville communicates with carrier pigeons still.
Exactly. And so bring your batteries.
Do carrier pigeons deliver cameras?
Maybe.
Depends on where it grips it.
That's right. Okay, so we'll officially end, just like last time. I will stay. This time I'm just staying for an extra 15 minutes, but we'll officially stop the recording. And thank you. I don't think I can say thank you enough, but I will try. Thank you. And I'll just keep saying thank you. So if you want to just stick around for 15 minutes, you're welcome, but you also can just come to one of our social hours, get on Discord. You can email the listserv, lots of ways to communicate. So great seeing you all tonight. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
Bye, thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
I'll hang out for 15.
I'm a troublemaker. I'll hang out.
Did you guys all behave? Dar told me she passed.
You're still recording, by the way.
I know. Yeah, Dar, you got to stop the recording.
Sorry, hold on.
We have to have our 15 minutes of just chatting.
Oh, Laura, you're recording. How funny.
Oh my gosh.
Recording
Oh,
stopped.
no. How did that happen?
I think we're double recording. We may have to sort through these later.
That's okay.
So is the extra underwear that you pack, is that just so that you can take the flats? That's a joke. Right?
That's a. I would
Whatever
hope,
works.
see, I hope that your underwear is still that white.
I wasn't gonna
Okay,
go there.
we cannot have this
You do
conversation
not need
anymore.
to know
I
the
was
answer
not
to
gonna
that
go
question.
We're going to t-shirts.
Okay, t-shirts. I hope your
Isn't
t-shirts are
t-shirt
that
a
white.
type of underwear? I mean, as an object?
Nope, it is not. It's just a shirt.
Well, you wear it under things, Laura.
That's true with you when you're skiing. Yeah, there's long. Then it's called long underwear. You need that first word.
Hey, Laura, I have a quick
Sorry,
question.
NASA.
What was the thing Evo was looking for? Was it the link? Is that what he was asking for in the?
Yeah, the Discord.
Yes, he was looking
Okay,
for the
cool.
link to the Discord, and Dave posted it very promptly.
Cool. Just wanted to make sure. All right.
Yeah.
I'm taking
Thank
off.
you,
Bye,
Robert.
everyone.
Bye, Robert.
So I saw in the office hours, someone had a contraption for getting the filter on and off easily.
That was me.
That was Liam. That is awesome.
So
talking
one
about
of the
this?
which I had been planning for, but they didn't until recently. You couldn't get them except with someone else's filter on it, but now you can get them just as rings. So it's a magnetic ring set,
that one. Yeah.
right? So you don't have to.
Right.
Basically, there's a
Oh, that's
base.
so
there's
cool.
a base magnetic ring, and then a ring that you screw onto your filter, and it turns.
Who
so you
makes
can
the
turn it
magnetic
into-
ring?
Right. So it's a magnetic adapter, right? So it used to be that these only came with the manufacturer's filter in them, but now people are making them where it's just the bare rings, and then you can put your filter onto the ring.
Yeah.
And this
Do
is,
you know do you know a manufacturer or something? I could look that up.
Hayes, Daniel. K-A-S-E,
and
I think.
KNF,
Don't quote me.
and I think there's another. Basically, you just look for magnetic filter adapter on Amazon, and you'll get a bazillion hits.
Yeah, I have a 3D printers. I printed my own, so this is one for my telescope. For my telescope here is a larger one, and then this.
Yeah, we can see that, Liam. Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to use for my 7200. I have the big slip-ons for the larger lenses, but this, for the smaller lens is way convenient.
Liam.
Yeah.
You could put another hinge on there and put a flat cover.
Well, I was actually thinking of actually just making a new one and just put a flat on it altogether. Instead of putting a second hinge on it, just print another one and just put the t-shirt in between. That would give me my flats.
There's no time urgency with the flats, and given the speculation about wanting a diffuser, I'm thinking I don't want any fabric getting anywhere near my glass.
Yeah,
but
if you get good cotton ones, you won't get that. And as long as you don't pull the material tight, you have it loose, then you need a good dense cotton, so cotton won't really fluff up, especially if it's new. And as long as you don't make it tight, you're not opening up the threads, then you're not going to let too much light in.
And if you have 2 layers.
I would always double the layers, yeah.
Yeah. The I was thinking of seeing if I could find one of my old camping cutting boards, which is really thin poly whatever it is, and it's translucent, but I'll experiment. Right? I'm just paranoid about things that can shed the lint near
Just get
my
an air
optics.
bulb. Bring an air bulb with you to blow off the lens just after you take your flats. That's the easiest way. Just get one of those air bulbs, the air rockets, whatever they call them.
Okay.
Oh, is that one of those like plastic things with the plastic little bubble on the end?
Yeah, the rubber bubble on the end. You squeeze it, and it just puts a jet of air to blow off any dust that can appear
Yeah,
in your lens.
it looks like a reverse booger sucker for babies.
Yeah, I think they call them air rockets, something like that is what they call
Air
them.
rockets.
Yeah.
Have a good night. I'll see you Wednesday.
Bye, Jeffrey.
So yeah, we're finally getting warm enough here so I can set my equipment up outside. It's been too cold up until now. So this week we're supposed to hit 40 degrees.
Thank goodness for that.
Well, yeah, it's been pretty cold. We've had snow the other day, so yeah, and it's been windy and cold. So 40 degrees would be a nice respite compared to what we've been exposed to.
Laura,
Spencer.
where do I send my 3D printed mount back to?
You email Darlene. Do you have her?
Darlene?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've come to the conclusion that my camera is going to be way too heavy for that thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
Spencer,
know. Sad.
Is there anybody in Michigan that wanted a mount that doesn't have one?
I don't know, but we can check that and get back to you.
Yeah, because I found the same. My lens weighs way more than the mount does, and that's just the lens.
Yeah.
It's a 300 millimeter lens, f2.8.
I have that same lens.
Yeah. Like, so I'm just
Yeah.
going to piggyback it on my telescope instead, because it's just way too heavy.
That is the safe option. Yeah, and well, what mattered to us most was that people just getting into this as a hobby or a profession or something would have the option as well. And so we're going to do everything we can to make sure these mounts get to volunteers that need them.
If there's a list of people in the area that you might have that might be open to sharing their contacts, I could, like, if there's somebody local, I could meet up with them and give it to them.
Yeah, no, thanks for offering. We'll see what we can get. We have I think total we have something like maybe just under 600 responses to our survey.
Oh,
So
good
it's a
God.
lot of people to sort through.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't.
Yeah, we've got it pretty organized too. So
yeah.
I think that also someone was asking where they should go because they have some flexibility where we need people to go. And it reminded me that I know where our holes are roughly, but it reminded me we need to do another Google, like now that everyone has their travel plans nailed down, or I hope you all have your travel plans nailed down. We should do another Google map with your locations. So I don't know if we want to, there's a million different ways we could do that, but just look.
I think I sent, oh, sorry, Laura. I think I sent a spreadsheet to Raphael with just location data, like anticipated location data. So I can send that same spreadsheet to Jeffrey and he can do a new one.
Here's the risk, I think.
Well, people have changed their locations, so I thought we might need to do like a new.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Well, people will check the weather the day before, and will move if needed, if the weather isn't clear where they are. Happening in 2017, I was in Casper, myself and Tim. The day before the eclipse, we checked the weather forecast and we are ready to drive a couple of 100 miles to get to clear skies. So you'd probably run into the same thing like 5 days before the weather forecast is guesswork. 3 days before the various models start coming together to start lining up with each other. The day before is a good chance it's going to be right. So a lot of people will check the weather forecast leading up to the days, and the day before and make a call how far they're willing to travel to get good skies if needed.
Yeah, April is a particularly difficult month of the year, especially here in the Midwest.
Texas is 50-50 even now.
Yeah, I mean, in Indianapolis, 40% chance of clear skies. And you go southwest, it gets a little better, but you go all the way down to Texas, it's still 50-50.
Well, Jay Anderson did some analysis on the last 20 years. You know Jay Anderson? He does a lot of weather reporting stuff. And he did analysis over the last 20 years on the effects of El Nino on the weather. And according to him, El Nino, which we're in the latter half of it right now, has a tendency to push the clouds north and clears out the southern states. So the further south you go, the clearer the skies will be. That's what Jay Anderson said. So, and he was right on Casper. He had Casper nailed in 2017 for the eclipse. He's the guy that Fred Espinette goes to pick where to go for the eclipse. And you know Fred, right? Mr. Eclipse himself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Jay's saying that the southern states should be better, because then that's why we picked Texas.
Yeah. Yup. It's the weather's just not like August.
We'll get it right in 2020, in 2045. It'll be August. I'll be there too for that one.
Who's doing 2027?
That's in
Luxor.
No, there's one in Spain in 2026, isn't there?
2026 is Greenland, Iceland, and Spain and Portugal.
Spain will be beautiful to go to.
That's
in August,
and that would be
Spain
in
is
August,
fantastic.
in 2 days before my birthday, I think, actually.
It'll be beautiful out there. Out and go to Canary Islands if you want to, because it goes right over the Canaries. Or you can go anywhere like Tarragona, anywhere south of Barcelona, along the east coast of Spain.
The
would be
Costa
fantastic.
Brava, if my memory of geography is not horrible.
Yeah, Tarragona is beautiful. It's a beautiful village. I've been there many times. And that'll be fantastic in August.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the following year in 2027, Luxor, Egypt gets almost
You know-
almost 7 minutes.
Yeah, I've been to Egypt. Egypt is not a great place to be bringing equipment to. As someone who's been to the country, yeah,
Every time I go through, every time I've gone through customs in Egypt with photo gear, I wound up with a half an hour stop, being questioned of whether or not I'm a journalist or something.
Outside of that, like you can't set stuff up and leave it there for a while and turn your back on it because
It
I'm not
grows
saying all
legs.
countries do that, but it's questionable at best. I've been there. I spent time in Egypt, and I'm telling you, yeah, it wouldn't be my first place to go to. It'd be lovely, and then you have to deal with deserts and the desert winds and so on. That will scratch.
But you could get some awesome backdrops for for a landscape.
Oh, you would. It would, but that sand being blown around, if it's windy at all, would act like sandpaper on your lenses.
Come to Australia in 2028.
That's an invitation. That's an invitation. There we go.
Yep.
We're all going to stay at your place.
Few hours, quite a few hours from the eclipse, probably a 12-hour drive. Not more. But yeah, Western Queensland, Northern Territory, Western New South Wales, everyone will probably head to Sydney. It'll be cloudy there. Go out west.
See, now we've all been invited. Yeah, the great American traffic jam. There's going to be a bigger one this time around, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you can bet that.
9 hours in Casper, Wyoming, on the freeways to get out of there.
Yeah.
People were having picnics on the hard shoulder, on the shoulder of the freeways, because the cars were not moving.
Same thing going from Columbia, South Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was like 9 hours, and that's a 1 hour drive, 1.5 hour drive.
Yeah, that's the fun we have ahead of us, right?
Yeah, that's why I stayed an extra day.
Oh yeah, so did I. I left Casper, Wyoming, Tuesday morning, and drove all the way back to Michigan, 28-hour drive, and we didn't have any traffic issues. But and the same we're going to do in Texas. I'm going to be leaving Tuesday and heading back, and then I'll get back Wednesday sometime.
I think I'll pack diapers and a big jar.
Yeah. Liam, whereabouts in Texas are you going?
Gatesville is where I'm staying in Belton. I'm staying in Belton. I got accommodation there for $50 a night.
Wow.
Whoa.
Airbnb. I booked it 2 years ago though. And then I'm going to be in Gatesville because Gatesville is right on the center line, dead center. I have talks to do down there too. I have some talks in Gatesville and Belton and so on and outside the area. Because as a NASA Solar System ambassador, between now and April the 8th, now and April 7th, I have 13 talks to do on the eclipse, and I've already done about 15 already. So
If any of them are recorded, Liam, we could post them in the Discord.
I think the one from the library last weekend didn't have a lot of people, but I think that might be recorded. Let me check with them.
Sure.
It's about an hour, but I talk about more than just size and distance. So I talk about the 4 lunar orbital periods and all this kind of stuff, which most people don't talk about, the anomalistic and the draconic and the sidereal and all this kind of stuff. They don't bring all of that into account. And I do, because they all have to line up to get the Saros cycle.
The only thing I have left is my little comedy show on how to get to a total solar eclipse. I'll only be able to do that one more time. I went to Aruba for free.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
By hook and by crook.
Yeah, I'll check with the library to see if it's posted on. I think they have a YouTube. They may have posted it out there.
Sure, great idea.
Any of you guys old enough to remember those little badges, name badges that they used to hand out at bars where you could write your name on the name badge and it had a little red blinking light?
Nope.
I'm
not from here, so
I'm older than the whole bunch of you then.
but I'm not from the US anyway, so it's different
Yeah.
where I grew up.
They used to pass these out at bars, and like at Christmas, and I got a hold of about 600 of them after Christmas, and they make great warning lights to stick on your telescope legs.
Oh.
And I ended up getting a telescope and a ticket to Aruba and back in 1998.
Nice. No, my first was in Stuttgart, Germany, in 99.
Yeah.
Then 2009 in Wuhan, in China. I was over there working, and then 2017, and then this one.
My first one was 1970.
That's when I was born.
Me too.
Has anybody had any issues with people getting in front of the camera and having to
Well,
section
no.
off an area?
So I bring bollards, tall, thin construction bollards, and where we're setting up our photography equipment, because there'll be a group of us. We section it off, and we got yellow, the yellow construction tape. We actually got a custom roll made of that, and it has a picture of a telescope, and it says telescope. It says the image of the telescope, and it says science and progress. And we had the whole section 6 off. And then when we were done, it was really fun. It was really cool. When we were finished, people were coming up asking for segments of the tape. They were taking it away as mementos.
Wow,
that was fun.
That's great.
So for most of the path, the sun is going to be at 30 or 40 or higher degree of altitude. And even if you have set your camera lower, if you shorten the legs of a tripod for greater stability, it takes a really tall person or someone really dedicated to get in the way of your camera. And to Liam's point, stick something in front of your tripod, like a big water cooler, or you set your own chair in front of it, and yes.
Well, what I'm doing is to draw people away. I have a solar projector, which is basically a lens and a mirror. And 80 feet away, I set up a sheet where it projected onto. And the last time I did this in Casper, people use it like a photo booth. They were hanging out there, getting their photographs taken beside the different phases of the of the partials, and that kept people over there which was good, which was great. And then, but we did have it taped off because we don't want people bumping something that because we're going to polar line the night before,
Yeah.
and we don't want people bumping it. We're setting up Sunday,
Right.
and we have a canopy. We have a 10 by 20 canopy, so we can have all of our camera, all of our PCs and stuff in the canopy, and then the cables running out to our mounts. And so we have we normally do a big setup because we've been through this for Tim and I and a couple of the others who are going to be there. We've done a lot of imaging in the past, and we don't want anything to go wrong on us because we're going to do so much work to get it right. The last thing you want to do is do something that's going to come back to bite you. So
Yeah, that happened to me in 2017. All my equipment worked perfectly, except I didn't see the two little kids that ran by and tripped over the telescope leg.
And moved everything.
Moved everything to where my solar image was, my frame was like this. My solar image was down here, out of the frame.
Oh, yeah. That's why we section off. We build it the night before. We section off. We put the canopy over it to keep it clear and everything off it. We have covers for everything that we're bringing.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, power it all back on again once our battery packs are charged up. I bought a lithium ferrite battery. I have a lithium ferrite battery there for 1,600 watt hours, so that will run everything. I have. I'm going to have a speaker system there so I can announce to everybody who's around us what's going on and what phases we're in and when the totality is coming up and stuff. Yeah, we tend to not do something small. We tend to, when Tim and I do events like this, there's a group of us get together, like from the astronomy club as well, and we tend to go all out when we're doing it because it draws people in, and we use it as an outreach education as well. So,
what astronomy club is that?
The Ford Astronomy Club in Michigan. Yeah. So now we do a lot of stuff though because we're now, like I got involved with NASA, then Tim got involved, and John McGill got involved, who's another member of our club, and so we're all doing stuff with NASA all the time. We do outreach with them all the time. Like on average, in a year, I must do about 30 or 40 presentations for NASA a year.
Tim who?
Sorry?
Tim who?
Oh, Tim Campbell. He's actually one of the guys who was here the last time.
Okay.
He's actually part of the mega movie, The Stars. But so we do a lot of presentations. I mean, like I'm booked in Texas and I'm not even from there. When I get so some of my talks have 500 people attending down in
Wow.
Texas. Oh yeah. Like I have one in Belton that's going to have about 300. I have another one in the Belton that's going to have 200. I have the big one in Gatesville is going to be 500 in the amphitheater in Gatesville. I have one in Sunday morning outside Gatesville. It's going to have about 300 people at it. I do a lot. Yeah, I've done a lot of big events.
I just did a Zoom presentation and we only had about a dozen people sign up. No, we had like 70 sign up. But only
yeah, I've done it for
dozen
small
showed
groups,
up.
but I've also done stuff for large groups, and I mean really large groups. So, like Astronomy at the Beach last year, we talked about the solar eclipse at Astronomy at the Beach, which is a big event that Tim and I are involved with planning. And like over 2 nights, we get 3,500 people to that event in 2 nights.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we do a lot of outreach, and we do planetarium shows, and we do some imaging, and we're on the scale of 1 to 10 of the nerd scale, we're probably both Tim and I are somewhere around the 15 mark.
Yeah.
So, if I could do this full time, I would.
Liam, I have a question for you about Maestro.
Yeah.
When I saw the thing with Daystar Guy and Xavier, who were talking about their programs.
That's the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society.
Yeah.
They have another one coming up this month with Fred Espenak on it.
Oh, but anyhow, in that presentation, I thought I heard Xavier say it doesn't matter about the cameras because they will shoot individually on their own rather than going round robin. Is that true?
Yeah, they don't go round robin. They are not on Maestro. They're not round robin. I don't believe.
Good, because you had me scared there for a minute.
Well, I didn't say it round robin. Somebody else said that.
Somebody else, yeah.
And actually, Fred said that for the Windows software Eclipse Orchestrator, he has separate threads running the process.
Yeah, so does Xavier.
So they on the USB cables, the way that the computer works, there's one USB controller and it talks to all the USB ports most of the time. And so each camera has a specific address. And so the computer can ping port 1 and say, hey, you do something. And it pings port 2 and says, you do something else.
So I'm going to be running 2 separate sets of scripts on Maestro. One is going to be the Mega Movie scripts, and one is going to be just totality, not just totality. Sorry, I'm going to do the lead in and lead out on both, but I'm going to do one camera is only going to be doing the Mega Movie scripts, for during totality, and the other one will be doing my own script together because I got fantastic images in 2017, so I plan to do the same this time around. Maybe improve a little bit on my Earthshine, and maybe improve a little bit on the Baily's beads because I didn't get very good Baily's beads. But this time around, looking at the lunar contours, the Baily's beads going in will not be great, but the Baily's beads going out will be which sounds like it'll be very, very good. So we should get nice Baily's beads as it leaves before the diamond ring effect. And I'm just after or just before C3. So so I will be running 2 separate scripts. I won't be repeating the script, but the images on the phases going in will be the same. It's just during totality there'll be variation in there because of that. I still have to do some testing with timing to make sure I can get it all done on time. But and I believe I can. I think I can do 2 runs, maybe 3. But I need to do some more testing on it.
Good.
5 more minutes, and then I'm telling Laura to go home.
I think, I would encourage any of you who have the inclination to make a spectacle of yourself to volunteer to do a social. No, I'm deadly serious. I learned so much from everyone else chiming in. So,
yes, we're going to. That social was very good for us too, and getting to see. I would love to see. We could have 1 volunteer per social event running through their process, and then 1 week Laura will do one, or Laura and I will do one together, or something like that. That sounds really fun. I really like the idea of 1 or 2 people being the ones setting up their routine, going through it, and then we can jump in with help or suggestions along the way.
Problem is, if I do it here, it's nighttime here. You won't see anything. And it's still cold. We're not warming up yet. We're getting there slowly.
No, yeah. Well, we already know you know what you're doing.
Oh, don't say that. Now you have expectations.
You've jinxed him as soon as you said that.
Let me knock on wood.
That's it. He's going to trip over 14 cables.
Oh, now we're all in trouble.
That's like buying new equipment.
Oh yeah, I've even banned people. We've actually openly said it to the guys in the club. Nobody's allowed to buy anything, but it's okay if they buy new equipment. We can sacrifice the astronomer. We'll keep the equipment. It's fine. Right? We hate to waste good equipment.
Well, okay. That sounds like a pretty good time. Pretty good note to end on.
Yes, thank you all again. It's lovely to chat with you. And yeah, I like your idea, Hannah, of you and I doing a practice run together, since
it'll
be more fun than
I
doing
need to
it. Yeah,
get a
he was
solar
very
filter.
brave
Yes,
doing
you
it there. I
were
love-
very brave, he. Thank you.
Is Laura Southern?
Well, my dad grew up in Lubbock, Texas.
I
But my
thought
mother,
I
yes,
thought I
you might be
heard.
hearing some of that. My mother grew up in upstate New York. So it's funny because actually the last eclipse, the 2017 eclipse, went through Oregon where I grew up. It went through Nebraska and Kansas where my sister has a farm. And then it went down through South Carolina where my cousin lives, and North Carolina where my aunt lives. So I went and visited all my family on the path. Oh, and I have family in Oregon. So I went and saw everyone while I was doing our mega movie tours to recruit people. And so I got to see all my family along the path. And then now I'm like, do I go where my dad was raised or do I go where my mom was raised?
Yeah. In
Because
2017,
but clearly I went to Texas because well, for multiple reasons, but I have never been my dad did not like Lubbock, Texas at all. And so he tried to get rid of his accent, and he also never took us there. And our grandparents would come and visit us in Oregon, but we never went to Texas. So now for the first time ever, I'm going to drive through Lubbock, Texas. And I'm so excited.
That's so fun.
I
in
know.
2017, we hung out with Vivian over in Casper.
You saw
White.
Vivian and Casper?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hung out with Vivian. We met beforehand. Oh no, we met beforehand. We all had lunch together and stuff. Those of us who were in Casper.
That's
Very cool. Anyone else going to Indianapolis? No, just me. Okay.
Well, the main reason I asked that question was because I was enamored by a statement Laura had earlier, and it was about the holy eclipse. The holy eclipse.
The holy
eclipse.
I saw your holy eclipse and I was like, I wonder what he's talking about.
Holy eclipse.
Holy eclipse.
The holy eclipse.
Holy eclipse.
Anybody going to be in around the Gatesville area in Texas?
I'm going to be in Ennis.
I was thinking about Ennis, and I reached out to the city, and they ignored me.
They didn't ignore me because I've been working with them.
Well, they totally ignored me, so I ended up going somewhere else.
I was
So I was
looking
gonna
at
stop
Ennis
in Ennis.
myself. I'm going to be in the greater Dallas area for sure, but I reached out to the high school there and I haven't heard back from them. And
They got a lot.
Some schools are not actually. Some schools are staying. They are going to be in school, and they are not allowing the kids out during the
Yeah.
eclipse.
Yeah, I've heard of that happening before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ennis,
I'm gonna be in, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm hoping to be right here in Indianapolis. We had the last
Ooh.
2 days were absolutely perfect. About 45 degrees today, not a cloud in the sky yesterday and today. And I'm just going, okay, save that up for April 8th. I'm hoping, but I'm willing to drive up to about 8 hours.
Yeah.
It-
Well, I'm
it-
visiting my little brother out there, so oh my gosh, my cat's on my keyboard. I'm
If
visiting
anyone's
my
in
little
Ga-
brother, so we're gonna photograph it together.
Ennis, Texas has an extra problem. The whole month of April is the Bluebonnet Festival, and they have 8 or 10, 12, 15, 20,000 people come for that.
That's good. More people for outreach. No, that's how I see it.
no, but really they're gonna need more they're gonna need more astronomers. And
Well,
yeah, there.
if anyone's going to near Gatesville, if the weather is good, we're going to be set up by the Civic Center. There's baseball diamonds by the Civic Center, and we're going to be set up in the baseball diamonds right by the Civic Center. That's where the city has allocated that, and it's about 60 feet from the center line. The center line is right over the houses right behind us, and the far side of the Civic Center. We can't get there because we'd have to set up on someone's roof. And I do it, but they won't allow me. So instead of that, we're setting up in the baseball diamonds, which is right by the Civic Center. And yeah, we'll have a big setup there. We'll have a tent there, and those of us who are going there, the city has said if you need, because we're setting up the day before, if you need somewhere to stay, they're giving us access to stay in the Civic Center overnight.
Oh, wow.
So-
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Oh yeah, they've been very, very good. They've been super accommodating with us. And that's where I'm doing the big talk there on that Saturday evening before the eclipse with the 500 people.
Liam, whereabouts in Michigan are you driving from?
I live in Wixom, which is not about how well do you know Michigan?
Fairly well.
I'm about about an hour or so north of Ann Arbor.
Oh, okay. All right.
So yeah, it's about 1,400 miles drive to Gatesville or Belton. There's not much of a difference. But I'm also involved in the Soundscapes project, and as well. So I'm doing research for that. I got the kit for Soundscapes the other day, and I'm also doing. I'm waiting to find out if I'm going to get an audio device that converts this that has a photo sensor that actually plays tone based on how bright the sunlight is. So there is a vision impaired school as part of the high school in Gatesville. So I'm going to set this up so the people who are vision impaired will hear the eclipse if they can't see it.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Very neat.
Liam?
You know, Liam, I'm actually working on, we have an eclipse guide for neurodivergent learners. I'm working on one for the visually impaired. So let me send that your way.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's the stuff I'm you may not have seen, but see these? I haven't finished yet. These are designed for the
Oh, how
people who
cool.
are vision impaired to
Mhm.
navigate the stars by touch.
Nice.
Oh, how cool.
These are 3D printed. I have 4 of them, one per season. But I have to put a script to them yet, an audio script I have to record. But I have 4 of them that I designed here to allow the vision impaired to learn the constellations through touch.
Way cool. Okay, we're ending. I'm calling it. We
All
have
right.
chatted. It is time. Thank you, everyone, for everything, truly.
Thank you.
We'll see you again before the big day.
Okay.
And you'll hear about social hours. So social hours are better for these kinds of like hangouts and conversations too.
Mhm.
So we'll make sure to facilitate leading up to the big day here. So thank you again, everyone, for coming. I'm officially kicking Laura out of work.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
For the holy eclipse.
Holy.
Holy